content over everything.
Does Jesus' life matter?
Well,
Did he die on a cross?
He's not alive anymore.
Charing Cross or King's Cross? You have to get back into the Speaker's Corner thing, don't you? But George Floyd, how many criminal convictions did he have?
Didn't he point a gun at a pregnant woman's belly and threaten
Yeah, a pregnant woman. So it's just fascinating to me why the death, however wrong or bad or disgusting it might have been, why does one death result in thousands of miles away, result in rioting in Whitehall, result in demonstrations in South Korea? Are there any black people in South Korea?
Yes, and they're on ads.
Why? Why? You know, there are black Christians being slaughtered every week across Africa. Look at what China is doing to Muslims. You don't often hear me talking about that, do you?
No, we don't.
Concern for Muslims. What do you know?
Eh?
He's a closet Muslim, a secret Muslim.
No, but seriously, let's get this in order. Why is one rather unpleasant man, give it rather disgusting death, resulted in this globally? It's politics, isn't it?
No,
it's
course.
absolute politics.
It's- no, isn't it?
It's people who don't want Trump to win another election, for example. It's people that don't like Boris Johnson.
It
It's
will
people
make
that
him
don't like Brexit.
No.
Why else is it? Why would the death of one criminal result
Go on,
in
Jimmy, go on.
riots?
Go get him.
Why?
Well, maybe it's because there's a systematic oppression that is making this emotion go under the surface. And it's
I looked at the FBI statistics this morning for homicides in the USA in 2018. And do you know, of all black homicides in America in 2018, 8% of them were by white people. So the murderers were white, of 16% of black deaths. When you look at the percent, now I'm going to make sure I get my numbers right. I'm going to completely screw them up now. I can feel it coming already. Basically, the proportion of black people murdered by white people in America is half the proportion of white people that are murdered by black people.
Okay.
That's 18%, the other is 16%.
Well, should I give you another statistic?
So one death resulting in international rioting. Why?
Because let's say I give you another case where if you look at the judicial service, yeah.
The what?
The judicial service,
Right,
where people give out judgments, yeah. In America, if you just have a white person getting a judgment handed down to him, or a black person, the black person's got they did a whole system review, much more likely to get a higher sentence.
So is that why we're rioting in Whitehall?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
Where's
it's
the
all
connection?
We're all connected.
We're all connected. How are we all connected?
A racist unconscious bias.
Why are they rioting in or protesting in South Korea?
Just stand up
in
and say-
Australia?
Just say we're connected. We're connected to this whole consciousness.
That's an
Why,
interesting
but why
idea.
this
Come
one
here,
issue?
actually, I wanna hear
Why
more.
not Hong Kong? Why not for the rights of the Hong Kong people?
No, we should-
Why not the
we
rights
do
for the
stand for the-
Tibetans?
we do stand
Why
for
not
them.
for the
We
rights
do.
of the Ukrainians in Ukraine from their Soviet Empire masters that
Thank
are now
you.
trying to take over Ukraine?
Thank you.
Why are we not rioting in Whitehall for Pavlov?
So are you calling for more riots?
I'm with you, Pavlov.
Thank
for
you.
more
The
riots?
Soviet imperial bastards. No one's even talking about
Are you
them.
calling for more riots?
Do you know Trump is about to pull out military from Eastern Europe? I'd be fucking worried if I was Ukrainian, Polish, Lithuanian, Latvian. But we're just hypocrites. We're nonsense. We're judgmental, but complete hypocrites, and we just ignore things. And we're sheep. We are sheep led by these fools that are telling us go and protest because George Floyd was killed. Are we really all sheep?
No, I agree with that point that you've made there. But the only alternative to that is to look at the list of problems and work out the ones that cause the most suffering.
On some scale, yes.
Yes. Well, in terms of
And
that
George
guy, he knows
Floyd,
all
surely
the
to
shit. You can do
goodness,
that, can't
isn't
you?
going to be very high up that scale. And neither is Mark Duggan, I will
But
add.
systematic-
Mark Duggan, one of the most
systematic-
evil, drug-dealing, knife-touting, gun-touting individuals you can imagine.
Yeah.
And look what happened when he was killed.
Yeah, but systematic racism.
Why are we
would
coming
rank
out
somewhere on that
protesting
list.
for thugs?
Because systematic racism would rank somewhere on that list.
then there must be better examples to highlight than the likes of Mark Duggan and George Floyd. There must be better examples.
Yeah, but that's not the way emotions work, is it? No one's
Oh,
gonna
so the more heinous the crime, the more disgusting the criminal, the more emotional we get.
No, I don't know how to argue against that.
Well, you know, because if your point is right, and I'm sure there is some validity in what you're saying, surely there are better examples to champion to get people's
I'll make another.
connectment.
I think the thing
Connect-
about George,
connectment.
with George Floyd, it wasn't so much him himself, but it was the particular way in which he died.
It was
and
pretty
a
disgusting.
particular way.
But
like,
isn't it
like-
4 officers are now in
And
custody
also-
and they're going through the judicial system?
Yeah.
So what are the demands of these protests? If they weren't sitting in a cell somewhere, I can understand that would be a demand. These people need to face justice. They are facing justice. So what is the demand of these
Although,
protests?
actually, they
And what is going
were
to be
for
the
first
benefit?
few
Well, they are.
days.
Hold on.
Yeah,
And
they
what
are.
is going to be the benefit for the community itself from all the rioting, from the looting, from the destruction of private property, the
How does
vandalizing
pulling your
of-
car over, stepping out of your car and going helping yourself to Nike trainers from Foot Locker help your cause? How?
My God.
I mean, it's just dumb, isn't it? It's dumb beyond belief. Looting trainers from Foot Locker because you're downtrodden and poor. Did you not see the cars, the quality of the cars that were pulling up outside Foot Locker?
Nothing done in the whole world. Have you got to British Museum and see how many British...
Changing the subject slightly, but yeah, there's nothing British in the British Museum. But there are plenty of museums that do have British stuff in.
Can I tell you one thing? If you go to British Museum right now,
I don't think it's open,
for the
but
last 10 years, they looted from Iraq so many things.
not just Iraq, Egypt.
Last 10
lots
years,
of-
last 10 years, there's a new department is for Iraq. For last 10 years,
We're trying to analyse.
So if you're comparing the two, you're saying
Well,
that
that
the
is a
riots
slightly
right now
different subject.
are an act of war against America.
no, my friend.
Just like the British looting Iraq
My friend, if
and
you have,
Egypt was an act of
we,
war.
what we say in our culture, if you have nothing, you can't give. So you're talking about justice and things, you never done justice.
No, we're not talking
We
about
never
justice.
learned justice.
We never done that justice. Your government,
I don't
American
think there's any other
government-
world
Listen to this.
there's no other country in the world that has as many inquiries about itself as this country. We have inquiries into inquiries into inquiries,
All right.
costing millions of pounds, lasting months if not years. We self-analyse ourselves more than any other nation on this planet. So don't say we don't have a consciousness
people go for
or we
justice?
don't worry and audit
How many
ourselves.
people go for justice for killing 2 million Iraqi people?
How much money was spent on the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, for example? And I'm not saying it was wasted money. We spend, after COVID, you wait to the amount of money and time we will spend as a nation investigating what happened with the COVID and what happened with the pandemic. We do that. And not only do we do it, we are completely open about it. We will show the whole world what we found out about ourselves. Will America do that? Will Russia do that? Will China do that? Fuck no, of course they won't.
what
But
about-
Britain will.
What about just general inequality?
What about general inequality?
Isn't that quite a big problem that we should sort of
We're covering a lot of bases here, aren't we?
rich and poor? The haves and have.
It's not the disabled inequality or the LGBT inequality or ugly people inequality or fat people inequality.
People are just different from each other.
What is the greatest inequality in this country?
Financial inequality.
Why? I've said this before, in the game of diversity top trumps, why does race always top trump everything else?
Because it's the popular topic.
Why though? Why?
Because it's
No,
trendy.
quite frankly, if you're a disabled woman, you're way down the pecking order when it comes to disability top trumps. But if anyone dares say you're a racist, then that's the end of it for you, because racist always top trumps everything else. Even if you're not doing anything remotely, vaguely racist at all. It's the way people are silenced in this country, not just in this country. You are silent. The way to silence anyone that you disagree with is to call them a racist, however nonsense that might be.
All right, let's get on to-
Criticise a faith and an ideology is the common method of it. Don't criticise my faith, my ideology, my belief, because I'll call you a racist.
Well, let's move on to financial inequality.
So I knew I'd get onto Islam eventually.
Financial inequality.
What's that based on?
What?
What's that based on?
What's that based on? Rich having loads of money and the poor not.
And what causes it?
You know, just.
Is there a problem with that?
Just lack of money.
Yeah.
Is there a problem with that?
Early years
How are you gonna
education,
fix it?
early quality of early years education. That's what's behind it.
Is it? Really? Really?
Well, is it?
So all the people down in Brixton, where I live, if you gave them really good early years education, they would achieve the same outcomes as people at Eton, would they?
I think there have actually been studies that show that early years health and early years education have the most significant impact on later year life.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, I mean that's true. But it's hardly going to equalise.
Which is why a young kid whose dad ran away when he was 1 year old, who doesn't have a single book at home, whose parents don't have the time or the inclination to even read them bedtime stories, those kids will be at the bottom of the pile on the poverty front, without doubt.
Yeah, but what about the billionaires that run away without paying their taxes? And then
You're very focused on billionaires, aren't you? Well, what's wrong with billionaires?
They've got too much money.
They've got too much money, so we should take it from them.
Fairly, we should do the fair contract that we did with.
How do we do that?
We say pay your fair taxes. They're not, are they? They're not. They've run away with all our money.
The taxes are fair, but they're not applied fairly. There's too many loopholes and exclusions.
Yeah, so I'm bloody annoyed about that. You're going to join me
Oh,
down
well,
at
I agree. When I'm in number 10, the first thing I will do is close all British tax havens, because they are evil, they are wrong, and the fact that most tax havens on this planet are British is outrageous.
There you go.
So I would deal with all tax evasion or avoidance, whether it's individual or corporate. Because to me, it doesn't matter whether it's you as an individual getting cash in hand to avoid paying tax, or whether it's Amazon not paying a penny's tax. Okay, there's more significance with that. But if there's loads of you not paying any tax and going into Tesco's with your wad of notes to pay because you don't want to put any of it via a bank account. I mean, you just see it. In any big supermarket, just watch the people in the queues. The number of people that are paying for their weekly shop with bundles of notes. There is one reason they're doing that. They're avoiding tax.
They don't trust the banks.
That's good.
Why not trust the banks?
Sure.
Why not? What?
You could lose your money, couldn't you?
No, I think, isn't it up to £50,000 which is protected?
I don't
If they're
think there's
making a
anything
lot of
wrong with
money.
if people deciding not to.
Deciding to fiddle the system and not pay
deciding to
their
put their
due.
money in Barclays. I don't think there's anything wrong with
It's personal choice. You've got the right to choose that.
that. You have that choice.
It is being done
And it's still going to the
by
commune
the
anyway.
bloke in the queue in front of you in Tesco's to keep the money out of the bank to avoid tax. That's
you
the
don't
only reason.
necessarily to
Not because they
avoid
don't trust the
Well, people
banks.
pay
They
taxes
don't
anyway
want to
because
pay
they pay
tax.
housing tax. They
How do
pay
you know
taxes
that?
every time they buy something
Tax
from a
should be
shop. They
simplified.
pay taxes.
I also
Every
think
time-
tax should be
that guy
simplified. Tax should be simplified and we should go for everyone who doesn't pay their fair share.
You're paying taxes.
You don't have to go like that when you say Mr. Speaker.
You're also paying taxes for your car, whatever you use. On the bus,
the bank.
like, literally, you're
I can't hear.
You can't avoid tax unless you never pay anything at
Did
all.
you hear that question?
You literally cannot avoid tax. Doesn't matter what financial situation it is.
Gentleman here said he
It doesn't serve us.
What, the bank?
No, not me personally.
This is getting a bit like a Little Britain sketch here. I do apologise.
on the bank. Excuse me.
You're excused.
On
The way out is over there.
on the bank until now.
No one owns the bank. There are lots
Hold
of
on
different
now.
banks. Okay, it's the Jews. Now
Who's
fuck
the
off.
owner? Who's the owner?
Who's the donor?
Who's the owner?
Lots of different people. Lots of different people, and they're not all Jewish.
Who's the owner?
Not many of them are
Who's
Jewish.
the owner? International Bank.
Oh, the
Who's the
International
owner of
Bank.
England Bank? Central Bank.
The Bank of
Arab
England, the
Bank.
Bank of Scotland, the
Kuwait
Bank
Bank.
of France,
All
the
the
Bank
Who's
of
the owner?
Russia.
Can you who's the owner? Who own it?
Lizards.
I own it.
No, you don't.
So own it.
Do you know who owns it?
I'm afraid to say I think you don't.
Who's on it?
Different people.
Who they are?
Does anyone think this is going anywhere? Why do people have a problem with billionaires and millionaires if they paid their tax?
Right, if they paid their tax, I wouldn't. Well, I still would. No, I still
They
would.
get them to pay their tax.
No, I still would, because having that much money is just not right, is it?
It does feel slightly offensive when someone like Richard Branson, who's a non-dom,
He's a right.
don't think he's paying much tax in the UK, then he claims the money from the government, our money, to furlough his staff. That kind of does feel in your belly not quite right,
And he
doesn't
sued the
it?
NHS, didn't he?